The movie Dune is set in the year 10,191. Humans have uncovered many secrets of the universe and now travel from planet to planet. Different planets have evolved into distinct nations, all governed by a single Padishah emperor named Shaddam Carino IV. These planets are organized into houses, each led by its respective duke, who in turn obeys the orders of Emperor Shaddam. One such planet is Arrakis, a harsh desert planet that is the sole source of a rare substance called spice. Spice is a valuable material that extends human life and is essential for interstellar travel. Hence, despite its harsh conditions, Arrakis is considered the most valuable planet in the known universe. Because of this, the noble houses are eager to control it. At the beginning of the movie, Chani, a native of Arrakis, narrates that the noble house Harkonnen, known for its cruelty, has long ruled over the natives of Arrakis. The natives are powerless against the House Harkonnen, which operates under the control of Emperor Shaddam. Chani also reveals that suddenly, House Harkonnen's troops withdraw from Arrakis. However, she is certain that the Emperor will send someone else to take their place and continue exploiting the planet's resources. The scene then shifts to another planet, Caladan, ruled by House Atreides. The Prince of Atreides, Paul, awakens from a recurring dream. He has breakfast with his mother, Lady Jessica, who is a member of the Bene Gesserit, an exclusive sisterhood whose members possess advanced physical and mental abilities. Consequently, Jessica also has the power to manipulate people's minds. She has been training Paul in the organization's disciplines for a long time. As a result, Paul possesses the power to see the future. Among other unique abilities he has yet to discover, Paul's father, Leto, the Duke of House Atreides, holds an important meeting with personnel from the Landsraad, the political body that represents all the noble houses. In the evening, the members of House Atreides welcome the VIPs who bring a directive from Emperor Shaddam himself. Having recently ousted House Harkonnen from Arrakis, the Emperor wants Atreides to take their place. He instructs Duke Leto and his forces to take charge of mining this spice on Arrakis. Duke Leto is apprehensive about the situation, but decides to comply with the Emperor's orders. While in the meeting, Jessica notices Gaius Helen Mohiam, a member of the Bene Gesserit organization, staring intently at Paul. The meeting concludes when Leto seals their agreement by marking a seal with his ring, confirming their commitment to follow the orders and proceed to Arrakis. In the following scene, we see Atreides' troops preparing to leave for Arrakis. Among the troop is their bravest soldier named Duncan, who is also Paul's close friend. Paul has been getting visions about Duncan's death in Arrakis, which he is worried about. Duncan assures him that he will be fine and leaves for the planet to prepare for Paul and the family's arrival. The following scene depicts Paul and his father Leto discussing various matters. Leto reveals that he has no interest in accumulating wealth through the spice, but rather, he intends to befriend the people of Arrakis, known as the Fremen. Unlike the previous Duke, Leto plans to treat the Fremen with respect, aiming to cultivate them as valuable allies for House Atreides. Later, Paul and his associate, Halleck, practice a duel. They use wrist devices that create a layer of protective force around their bodies. Halleck expresses concern about potential attacks from the jealous Harkonnen and urges Paul to be cautious upon their arrival at Arrakis. Meanwhile, in the House of Harkonnen, the former ruler of Arrakis, Duke Baron, and his rogue nephew, Rabban, discuss their last ship leaving Arrakis, effectively handing over control of the planet to the Atreides. Rabban belittles the Emperor for removing them from Arrakis and giving it to the Atreides. However, he is taken aback when Baron reveals that the Emperor is actually plotting the downfall of the Atreides because of jealousy over their growing popularity. The Emperor's plan is to eliminate Leto and all his men while they are mining spice on Arrakis. Back in Caladan, Jessica wakes Paul up and takes him to a doctor to get his vitals checked. It turns out that the Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohiam has come to know of Paul's visions and wants to check if he is the one they have been waiting for. There, she makes him put his hands on a box to test his impulse control, which he passes with great effort. After Mohiam leaves, Jessica tells Paul that the female organization, the Bene Gesserit, has been steering politics from the shadows for years. They have also been carefully crossing bloodlines in order to give birth to the one man who will have the potential to save Arrakis from spice exploitation. It turns out the test Paul just passed shows him to be the one they have been looking for, the Messiah of Arrakis. The next day, Leto, Paul, Jessica, and their troops leave for Arrakis and land on the planet. They are welcomed by the native Fremen, who have already been told that Paul is their Messiah, although Paul himself believes it to be just a superstition. Later, in his chamber, he learns about a massive sandworm found in Arrakis. To be safe from it, the Fremen walk in irregular motions in the sand. As Paul watches holograms, a deadly insect emerges from a wall and attempts to kill him, but Paul manages to save himself just in time. Upon investigation, it is discovered that a Harkonnen soldier has been hiding in the walls, intending to assassinate Paul. The scene then shifts to the Baron meeting Mohiam. She is aware of the Emperor and the Baron's plan to attack the Atreides, but is unable to intervene due to the Emperor's orders. However, she pleads with the Baron not to harm Jessica and Paul. Although the Baron agrees not to directly kill them, he devises a plan to expose them to the sandworms in the desert. Back on Arrakis, a meeting is held where officials discuss their plan to mine the spice. It is revealed that the Harkonnens have left them with damaged equipment, setting them up for failure. After a while, Paul reunites with Duncan, who had been sent to prepare for their arrival. Duncan explains that he has been living with the Fremen in the desert for 4 weeks. He shares their survival techniques and tells them about a Fremen community called Sietch and their leader, Stilgar. Stilgar arrives to meet Leto, who offers to collaborate with the Atreides, but Stilgar criticizes him for exploiting their land without benefiting its people. They part ways amicably after Leto promises to never harm the Sietches. The next day, Leto and his team go to inspect the spice sand that they will be mining. They encounter a Freeman and an Imperial ecologist named Dr. Leek Kynes. She checks the integrity of Leto's sand suit, which is designed to recycle sweat and urine into drinking water. While examining Paul's suit, Kynes notices that he is familiar with the Freeman's way of wearing it, despite it being his first time. This leads her to recall a prophecy stating that their Messiah will possess knowledge of their ways, even if he comes from another land. Kynes also believes Paul to be the one. After inspecting the spice sands, they witness 2 sandworms approaching the spice harvester. It appears to be a common occurrence, and a carrier is dispatched to lift the harvester out of the worm's reach. However, the carrier's anchor breaks, rendering it unable to lift the machine. With a crew of 21 trapped inside the harvester, about to be attacked by the worms, Leto acts swiftly. He orders everyone to bring their aircraft closer to the device and evacuate the crew on board. They land on the sand just minutes before the worm attacks and successfully rescue the crew. However, Paul catches whiffs of spice in the process and experiences a vision. Upon returning home, he remains dizzy, and the doctor attributes it to an allergy. However, Paul insists that he saw a Freeman girl in his vision and knows it wasn't merely an allergic reaction. Additionally, he informs Jessica that she is pregnant, but Jessica dismisses the claim. The scene then shifts to the Imperial Army planet, where a battalion is being prepared to attack the Atreides and eliminate Leto and his family. They are known as the Seducer, considered the deadliest army in the known world. Back in Arrakis, the doctor brings Paul medicine to alleviate his allergies. Little does Paul know, the doctor has made a deal with the Baron, and the medicine will render Paul unconscious. Leto and Jessica are also given medication for sleep. Jessica takes hers, but Leto refuses. After a while, the army of Seducer attacks them. Leto wakes up and realizes what is happening, but before he can react, the doctor hits him with a dart that slowly renders him unconscious. Outside, the Seducer army wreaks havoc, catching the Atreides forces by surprise. With their superior numbers and weaponry, they quickly overpower the Atreides. Meanwhile, the doctor informs the injured Leto that the Baron has abducted his wife, forcing him to comply. The doctor then removes Leto's ring to give it to Paul. He also places a poisonous molar tooth in Leto's jaw, explaining that if he bites down hard enough, the tooth will release a secret poisonous gas that will kill everyone around. Meanwhile, the Seducer army abducts Paul and Jessica with the intent of throwing them into the sand. Paul awakens in an aircraft with his mother gagged and bound beside him. With Jessica's ability to manipulate people, they coordinate to overpower and eliminate their captors. Paul discovers a Fremen left by the doctor to aid in their escape. Afterward, they flee into the desert. Meanwhile, unconscious Leto is taken to the Baron and stripped naked. Despite the doctor's plea to spare his wife, the Baron mercilessly kills him. The Baron then informs Leto that his bloodline will end that day. Faced with no means of escape, Leto bites down on his teeth, releasing a poisonous gas that kills everyone in the room, including himself. On the other hand, elsewhere, Paul and Jessica set up a tent using the kit they found. Among the items, they discover a note from the doctor and Leto's ring. As they gaze upon the ring, the realization of Leto's death sinks in, and they mourn his loss with tears. The following morning, Duncan approaches the Fremen Imperial ecologist, Kynes, and implores her assistance in locating Paul and Jessica. Back at the Baron's palace, his soldiers enter the room after the poisonous gas has dissipated. To their surprise, they find the Baron has managed to attach himself to the ceiling, narrowly escaping the lethal effects. Meanwhile, Paul, exposed to the high concentration of spice in the desert sand, experiences intense visions of a holy war that will occur in the future. He envisions himself leading a conflict that results in the deaths of millions, causing him to hyperventilate from the overwhelming imagery. A concerned Jessica manages to soothe her son, calming him down amidst his distress. Sometime later, he puts on his father's ring and assumes the title of Duke of Atreides. They are soon discovered by Duncan, who kneels before Paul, addressing him as the Lord Duke. Kynes then takes all three of them to a safe location, an old ecological station originally intended to supply flowing water across Arrakis. Had the project been successful, Arrakis could have become a paradise. However, the discovery of spice in the sand shifted everyone's focus towards harvesting this valuable resource, and the project was abandoned. A while later, the Sandworms army reaches the safe zone and attacks everyone. Duncan risks his life to save Jessica and Paul. Paul shouts at him to stop because he has seen Duncan's death in his vision, but Duncan remains to fulfill his duty. Eventually, he is killed while fighting the army, but Jessica, Paul, and Kynes manage to escape. Jessica and Paul board an aircraft that only holds 2 people. Meanwhile, Kynes instructs them to head south to meet the Fremen, who will assist them in their cause. She plans to catch an aircraft from another station. The mother and son fly away, but Kynes is soon captured by the Sandworms soldiers. They are about to kill her when she creates rhythmic thumping on the ground. The noise attracts a sandworm, which devours all of them in one swift move. After that, Paul's aircraft is pursued by 2 enemy aircraft. Paul steers their aircraft into a fierce sandstorm, leading their pursuers to believe they are dead. In the next scene, we see Baron soaking in medicinal baths to heal the injuries from the poisonous gas. His nephew Rabban reports to him, claiming Leto and his lineage are eliminated. Satisfied that his rival house is defeated, Baron instructs Rabban to continue the spice extraction and to exterminate all the Fremen. Elsewhere, Paul and Jessica make an emergency landing in the desert but survive. They change into desert suits and set out to seek assistance from the Fremen. Paul had learned about Fremen survival techniques, including their method of walking to avoid attracting sandworms. As they trek through the desert for the whole day, Paul experiences visions of Fremen individuals, including a specific girl urging him not to give up. The duo pauses to rest when they suddenly hear a loud noise. Paul recognizes it as the approach of a sandworm. To evade certain doom, they begin to run, but the worm accelerates its pursuit. Just as it emerges from the sand, seemingly about to consume them, it halts mid-air. Someone had activated a thumper, distracting the worm and saving their lives. Just then, the leader of the Fremen, Stilgar, and his group surround Paul and Jessica. It is soon revealed that they initially planned to kill them for the fluids in their bodies. However, Stilgar intervenes, declaring that Paul is the Messiah they have been awaiting. The others are skeptical, arguing that Paul has not yet proven himself worthy of such a title. One of them insults Jessica, calling her old and weak. Jessica demonstrates her strength by holding the man hostage, with his life hanging in the balance. After this display, Stilgar orders everyone to make their way to Siege Tabor, where Paul and Jessica's fate will be decided. Just then, the girl from Paul's visions arrives in front of him and introduces herself as Chani. As they prepare to leave, a Freeman named James insists on dueling Paul. In Freeman tradition, all duels must end with someone's death. Though Paul has been training all his life and easily defeats James, he hesitates to kill him because he has never taken a life before. Eventually, Paul stabs James to death and emerges victorious in the fight. The others then gather the dead body and make their way to Siege Tabor. The movie concludes with Paul witnessing a man riding a massive sandworm, and Chani assures him that this is only the beginning. The ending hints at the vast potential for future developments in the sequels. To receive a recap of Dune Part 2, subscribe now.